Hi class, hey, this is Darren Susie. Um, Module 5, Social Media. Is it really worth it? Um, for class EDL 952. First thing I'm going to go over is the survey. Survey is a little old in technology years. It's from 2009, so that was quite a while ago, kind of like dog years. Um, our respondents during this survey, teachers, 47% of them responded. Of the whole responses, 47% were teachers, principals 30, and librarians were 20. Genders amounts were 7% of the group was female and 25% was male. Ages 18 to 34, we had 14%. 35 to 54, there were 57% respondents, and 55 plus, we had 30%. Just kind of giving you an overview of what this survey was about and who it was about. Years in education, 23% of them were 2 to 10 years, 36% were 11 to 20 years in education, and 21 or more years was 42%. As far as grade levels, we had 46% were elementary teachers, and 30% were middle school, and 34% was high school. The district status was rural 14%, suburban 25%, urban areas 25%, and the unknown of 9%. States, we had 48 states involved in the survey, and DC. 61% of the educators have joined a social network at this time in 2009. I imagine that's a little higher now. They are more positive. The 61% of those educators that join social networks are more positive about the value of this technology for education. Educators that haven't grown up with it feel a little overwhelmed. Those 61% of educators understand the need to address and incorporate collaborative technology into teaching and learning. The adoption of this technology will continue and increase, and it already has since 2009, of course. Serious concerns about privacy and liability. We'll get into that a little later too. Educators express a need to keep their personal and professional lives separate. This kind of a big thing back in 2009, and I think it is in 2020. Educators feel that schools, districts are overly restrictive in blocking access to websites. That was kind of interesting to hear from this summary. I'll get into my opinions here a little later. Educators would like more training, professional development, and direction on using social media and other technology. I think this is a big place. Some administrators forget to. We want to just say we have the technology instead of say we use it effectively. Respondents are using social networking sites primarily to connect with family and friends. So those people that responded, kind of the way I started, was just to kind of connect with family and friends. Also, some more summary information about this survey. Educators who have joined a social network are more positive about the value of this technology in education. Probably because they became a little more familiar with it, so they're not so scared of it. Overall, educators see a high value in social networking in education. Some educators have very strong opinions against social networking and feel that more face-to-face communication is needed in education. Yeah, that kind of sounds like 2009. I think that's changed a little bit now that we've gotten a little more comfortable with social media. Although educators are joining social networks, they express a need for guidance, training, and professional development. Kind of already went through that one. Many educators have a high level of concern about joining social network sites. back then, I think. And again, I think we're getting a little more comfortable now. Concerned about privacy, time, and too much email was one of their concerns about joining a site. Frustrated by blocked access to sites. I think that's changed. I think we've gotten a lot better in school districts um, with filters of different sites. Librarians were the most likely to join the social network at 70%, followed by teachers at 62%, and then principals at 54%. Imagine that. Social media is just how students socialize these days. That's a point they brought up in the trend lines, the future of social media and education. And it's true. That's what our students do, and even adults now. And this is a more current article. Students are spending an average 9 hours each day on their screens. It's a lot of time. So how are we going to use that in schools? Social media has become one of the greatest influences on our children's happiness, health, safety, and future success. That's kind of what we're about. Our students' happiness, health, safety, and future. 80% of 5th through 7th graders believe that social media can be a positive impact on their world. So they've got a pretty positive thoughts about social media. Can we use that in education? The future of social media is bright. Of course, it's here and it's going to stay here. Empower and equip rather than scare and restrict. Now, a lot of times, some of our educators that are scared to use it, they pass that on to our students, and I don't think that's right. So we'll get into that later too. Strengthen reputations, protect privacy, follow positive role models. This is another way that another plus of social media. Also aligns with mission and vision statements of supporting a student's health and wellness, which is what education is all about. Social media really took off 11 years ago. That was back in 2009, the other article. So there's a lot of data they missed in that survey. Other points they bring up in this article: 100% of students believe they know more about social media than their parents or school faculty. So how does that affect the teaching? Students are not being taught what to do on social media. Okay. This relevance lacking top-down, don'ts-driven approach is failing our students. I agree with that. Cyberbullying, rejected by college, sleep deprivation, nude photos, suicide. These are just some ways where people have gotten in trouble. Our students have gotten in trouble, so we need to educate them on that. I do believe, I was a computer science teacher for quite a long time, and I always educated my classes on appropriate ways of using social media and to make sure they didn't fall into those things. As long as students feel like they are being lectured, they will tune out. Imagine that. Pretty much common sense there. So what do we do for that? What's the future of social media? Use bottom-up approach rather than using a top-down approach. Students co-lead. Yeah, get the students involved, right? Use their knowledge. That's what you like to do. We did some group work, and let them work together. Focus on the do's, not the don'ts. Assemble a cross-departmental team to work with it. And then the admin needs to take a holistic approach to educating students, parents, and faculty on social media. Develop your policies and don't be scared of it. Facebook fired. This is where it gets scary. Staff getting fired because of Facebook and different things they put on Facebook. Employee is fired for personal social media use. Could have significant potential legal consequences. So, somebody can be fired as an administrator. You got to think of, okay, I can fire them, but is it Are they going to file a court case against me? Am I not giving them all their rights? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. That's what they talk in this article. 83% of individuals 18 to 29 years of age frequent social media sites. Facebook has 1.32 billion active users who visit at least monthly. Twitter has 500 million subscribers. Recent survey states that 1/3 of the workers use social media at least 1 hour of the workday. It's here to stay, isn't it? So we've got to deal with it. 60% of employees report having one or more coworker friends on Facebook. 25% of employees report that they are Facebook friends with their supervisors. A lot of activity going on. So the Pickering versus Board of Education had to deal with free speech rights. This was just a letter back in the day that was written. Speaking of citizens about matters of public concern, I bring that up because if you're speaking of public concern, they are not following the First Amendment. But if you're a public employee, professional responsibility does not receive First Amendment protection. So if they're a public employee and they're talking about their profession and dealing with the class, then they're not protected by the First Amendment, as where they were if they're talking about a public concern, which was the court case of Pickering versus Board of Education. So what else did they talk about? School district policies regarding teacher-student social media interaction vary greatly, if they exist at all. Some school districts completely prohibit personal social media communication between teachers and students. Some allow limited social media use, and many restrict social media use to just instructional purposes only. So where is that line between appropriate and inappropriate social media interactions between teachers and students? Where do we draw it as a district leader? It's difficult. We're going to have to make those decisions on policy. Should it be drawn by the school corporation, or should the state be involved, or should it be part of the Constitution? Act 214 requires every school corporation in Louisiana to have an electronic communication policy. Is that what states are going to go to? In conclusion, so here's kind of my opinions on it. Just some drawing from this and my experience with education, and being a computer science major and dealing with technology for the last 30 years. Obviously, workers across all job types need to be careful with what they post on social media and whom they allow to access their accounts. Education of your teachers and policies for students and teachers and all staff. It's very important as an administrator to draw that up so everyone has all the expectations in front of them. Admin need to educate students, parents, and faculty about social media. Don't be scared of it. Take it on and get the information out there so that it's here to stay. So we've got to deal with it and get better at it. Technology is going to continue to grow, and we need to embrace it. We need to embrace all the changes because this technology is going to grow and change. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So we need to research it. We need to collaborate together and come up with ideas that's going to work for all districts. Schools need to support students' health and wellness through the use of social media. You know, I put that on there at the end because they're going to use it. So we need to educate them to use it properly and show them the right way of using it. That is the conclusion of my report and of social media and technology in schools. So obviously, you know, my opinion is to embrace it and plan and use it Um, we can't be scared of technology. Back in 1983,